I have spoken with Thadeus Makukutu. He is a self-taught .NET developer who lives in Brisbane, Australia. I have known Ted for about 10 years now, and he's a very good friend of mine. As a curiosity, he is a friend whom I've never shaked his hand. We've never met in person. Ted runs his own consulting business focusing on attending to manufacturing clients. His background is in accounting and business, but about 8 years ago, he decided to become a coder. During this conversation, we have spoken about how he transitioned to his new profession to become a coder and why he chose to run his own business as opposed to get a job. But Ted will warn you, because being a coder and having a software company are very different things. Hello, Ederson Oliveira here. This is the Solo Coder Podcast, where I talk to, I interview, I chat with coding professionals, with people in the industry that are programming, that are developing, that are coding, call it however you want to call it, but that they are doing, the coding. They are coders. And today is no different. Today I have a longtime friend, which I'm very glad to say that he is a friend, Thadeus Makukutu. Thadeus, welcome.
Hi, Edison. Thank you very much.
Thadeus, and again, I'll be intertwining Thadeus with Ted. You know that. But I'd like you to introduce yourself. Tell what you are doing now and where are you most of all.
Cool. Yes, my name is Thadeus Makukutu. I'm a .NET developer. I write software for businesses. Lately, I've been more focused on manufacturing businesses. So I'm pretty much a full stack developer. So right from the, a UI to the application layer to the database layer, or hosting with Azure, my qualifications in school were in accounting. Came out of that, got into business management, and then from that found my way into software. Really loved it and haven't looked back since.
Got it. Okay, so as I briefly mentioned, this is about career. And what the audience is curious about is not only where you are, and you gave a little preview there, but how you got there. So, and the good thing is that I know you from the time that you used to be someone else, and then I saw the transition of you to becoming a coder. So go back to that point and tell me why the decision of transition from where you were to becoming a coder. Why that?
Yeah, so when I met you, Edison, that's when I was the general manager of a publishing company back in the day. That was now probably 12 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah, wow, incredible. What basically happened there was, in that business, we realized we had a bottleneck in production. We're bringing all the sales, all these deals. Now, to actually make the stuff, we kept, tripping over ourselves. There was so much to manage in terms of the job. And that's when we contracted you and I think 3 other developers. You guys basically built our system for us there. And so I would basically prepare an Excel file for you guys and say, okay, this is the field, these are the fields I want, this is the report I want. And the next day you come back with a few questions, and the day after that you come back and say, okay, is this what you want? Does that look right? And I'm like, holy cow, yeah, that's exactly it. And then you'll say, okay, but it also needs this data. And then you go and build that. And then after a couple of times, I say, man, how do you guys do this? To me, it was so magical that, I can envision something, hand it over to you guys, and you guys come back with a fully working application for me. And I was so impressed. I was blown away. And I think, Edison, that's when you told me, like, oh, well, there's C# and there's SQL and there's all this stuff. And I was like, okay, so where would I start if I wanted to? And that's where you told me to start with SQL, with SQL, because you said if you don't get the models right, everything falls apart. Obviously, that was before the days of code first, with .NET and all. So anyway, I went and started learning my SQL, and lo and behold, I started querying the database on my own and understanding it a bit more and more. And so you guys built that system out for us, and in the background of that, I was what was I doing? I was so I was studying in the night, literally every night, 2-3 hours online, learning SQL. Eventually, from
where did you get to learn from? I mean, again, don't lose that detail. Where?
Yeah, so there was a site called, I'm sure it was called learnvisualstudio.com. It was such a great site because the way he taught, it was so intensive. It's like you get an hour of this thing and then you got 2 hours of homework where you have to go and implement what he's just taught you. And as I did that, the way he taught it was, so I'm sure they're still up there. It was so intensive that at the end of every day, I'll just be like, wow, I can do this. And you'd really get it. It wasn't something you watch and go and hope you remember. You had to watch and do homework. Then after that, I remember going on to Pluralsight. So Pluralsight, it wasn't so full on like, here's the homework for you to do this. You had to basically take the initiative yourself to say, okay, you watch him code, you watch what he does, you go and create a similar environment. I don't think even then they had because now they actually give you the code, the project code. I'm sure back in those days they didn't. And you would have to try and recreate the environment and try and walk through yourself. Now they give you the code file, the project file, so it's great. You literally can download them and walk through it, customize it, whatever you want to do. So it's really good. So those were pretty much the two sites I did. Learn Visual Studio, Pluralsight. For my SQL, it was called, I can't remember. It's some SQL course somewhere online, and yeah.
That's all good. But let me ask you this. Even if it 10 years ago or even last year or today, if you are interested in learning something, yes, you can do online, but why didn't you go to a more traditional route as, okay, I'm gonna go and find a course, a local, I don't know, maybe a local college that I could, stud from or go to, attend to? Why you didn't go that route and decided to go fully on yourself, on your own, online?
Yeah, so two reasons. The first reason is when I was about 14 or 15 years old, I was in high school. I was a really smart kid, but mucked around and I flunked and I got kicked out of the really good class where you got to do the sciences, and I got kicked into like whatever, I think it was, you get to do business and arts and all this stuff. Nothing wrong with business and arts, look at me now, I prefer business to arts. But I flunked out, and my dad said to me, he's like, well, no, now you've stuffed up. Well, so I got a bit sad and all, and my dad said, no, look, it's not over till it's over. If you really want to learn the stuff, in that case, it was the sciences. It was like, you can still do it. Just because you're not in the class anymore, you're not in school for it, doesn't stop you. And life is like that. You can learn whatever you want. And he got me to go to night school while I was in the bottom class, to go and study my sciences. So now it's like I'd go to normal school. After school, I'm at this night school with these adults who are working, and they're trying to correspond their education through correspondence, and they're like, what are you doing here? You're in school? And I'm like, yeah, flunked out. So here I am, trying to do my chemistry and all. And I did, and I passed. I came out with flying colors, and I mean, so for me, the lesson there has always been that if you want to, you can. Like really, whether you're in school, you're not in school, you want to sit in a classroom or not, you can. The second piece that got me to not going to the school was that I don't remember where I heard this, but what I quickly understood was that there's a difference between skills and fundamentals. In the job, the clients, they don't pay you for fundamentals, they pay you for skills. They pay you to deliver a working product. Now, to deliver a working product, you need more skills than fundamentals. In uni, you learn a lot of fundamentals. Now, technical colleges are better because they try and also bring in a lot of skills, because they actually teach you things that you can walk into the job with and apply. But typically, uni is going to give you a 3-year, 4-year course on really good fundamentals. But you walk out of that course into a job, and the boss says, okay, look, I need a website that we book our inventory on. If you start talking about, patterns and different kinds of programming languages, and you've lost it, because he doesn't care about that. He just wants a working product. So that was, for me, I wanted to deliver. I wanted to deliver value. I wanted to make stuff that worked, and I just focused on getting skills. Now, in saying that, for those who are at the phase of their lives who are getting fundamentals, fundamentals are very important, because fundamentals give you a deep foundation, and the height of your building can really only be as deep as your foundation. So what happens is, when all these new languages come out, for somebody who's just focused on skills with no fundamentals, it's hard to jump from language to language, because we actually don't understand the fundamental pieces of a language. So if I had to redo it again and I was 20 years old, I would absolutely say, yep, I'll get my rock solid fundamentals 3 years, but I'd be quick to get skills as well. And that would be the best piece. And so that's why I focused on going to the Pluralsites and the like, because that's skills. You get in there, you learn how to get an application up and deliver.
Awesome. So you gave me a lot of juice to grab to. So again, you decided I want to start learning coding, and you went on your own, and you found websites, and you found training, and you start doing them. And at some point you got confident. Then what? Then you went to a job? I mean, tell me, once you got confident, what did you do after that?
So once I got confident, the application that you built, I was now able to customize that and develop that further, until I left that job and I decided I was going to go out on my own as a programmer. And I went and started building software for people.
So
literally, I went out into the market, and I joined business networking groups. So obviously I'm not your typical coder. So let me explain that a bit. With coding, you've got the back house guy who wants to sit in a dark room and talk to nobody and just code. That's great, but you need somebody who's business facing, and usually those are not the same people. So I've been fortunate that I've got half of each. So I'm not your best developer. I'm half a good developer. I'm not your best business facing guy. I'm half that guy. So I was able to go and get business during the daytimes and code outside of that. So went business networking, international, all kinds of networking, got clients and started building applications for them. And a lot of them failed.
Okay, let me just step back a little bit there. So what I would have thought is that you learn and then you went and found a job. Why not a job? Why find clients on your own instead of a job?
Okay, so that's a great question. And if I had to redo my life, let me tell you how I would do it. So why I didn't to go and get a job was I had read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it talked about the virtues of going it on your own and know that how hard it will be, but eventually it will work out if you keep going. If you don't give up. And so I literally just, hook, line, and sinker, jumped in and say, yep, I'm going to do my own software development business. In hindsight, what I would have done is I would have gone to work in a small software development firm. And I emphasize small because in a small firm, you usually get to do everything. So they are not many people. There'll be 5, maybe up to 20 people, and you're able to dabble in a lot of things, right from the UI to the server to customer facing and all. And then from that experience base, I would have been able to springboard into my own business. By not doing that, everything was just like a challenge. It was new. There was stuff I didn't know about, database optimization that came back and, bit me in the backside. There was stuff I didn't know about agile planning and pricing that came back and bit me in the backside. So in hindsight, I would say you want to get some working experience in an environment where people are actually succeeding in a holistic business. Your trap is that you're going to get comfortable and end up staying there for 20, 30, 40 years and end your career there. Hopefully not. So be aware of that, fully aware that, look, you're only here for 2-3 years. Be fully committed, deliver value, but don't lose your long-term vision. That's what I would say.
Awesome. I like that. So you went on your own, you tried to do software on your own, then it didn't work out quite well as you expected, and now you are where you are. So from that point that it didn't work out to now, what has changed that I'll be assuming for a second that it's working out right now. So what have you changed there?
Well, so right now it's nowhere near where I would like it to be, but it's stable, it's steady. So it's a steady income. So I would say I'm making as much as I would have been making in a job. I haven't gone beyond that at this stage. So again, what's changed? What's changed is to understand a few. I think for me is to understand a few principles. The first one is that being a coder and having a software business are two different things. Like it's almost like water and oil, for lack of a better example. Coding is, saying if you're doing custom software, is just one side of the business. There's the other side, which is the marketing, the sales, the administration, the finance, the management. And those are all professional disciplines, right? So for me, that's been the challenge, where it's like to take on all these responsibilities. That's been a challenge, no question about it. The second piece that I would add here is that what I've found, again, in Vision 2020, in hindsight, I went into the custom software route, which in hindsight, I would say you may want to, if I had to redo it again, I'd say start off in an ecosystem. So obviously I've always been a .NET developer, but that is so low. .NET is so low level that you actually want to start on a higher level. What I mean by that is an established platform that's got clients there that are already they already sold on that system. They already know that they pay money for that system. They already know that they need some customization for their system. So now you're able to piggyback onto this billion-dollar company that is actually looking for guys like you. So say, for example, a Salesforce, you can become an Apex developer and focus in on that. You literally have to cut all the other options, become a Salesforce developer. You're still a coder, but at least now the customer acquisition, at least I'd say 75% of it is taken care of it because Salesforce is attracting customers and they're looking for consultants like yourself on some level to refer to and actually do the work and the customization. So there are many options: Salesforce, Sugar CRM, Zero, Microsoft Dynamics, Sage, SAP, SAP. Again, these are established ecosystems. In hindsight, I didn't do that, and yeah, I think that was a bad decision in that regard.
So let me just try to recap here a little bit. So if you were to start again in starting this life of building your own business and doing your own consulting, call it consulting, call it, I mean, some people would call it freelancing, or however you want to call it, but you would select an ecosystem like what you mentioned. For instance, Salesforce, which is a big platform, big CRM, way beyond CRM, is an ecosystem. So again, you would choose a platform like that, and then you would come in with your, let's put it this way, your knowledge, your C# knowledge, and code for that ecosystem. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct. Yes, if you're a C# developer, you'll probably go Microsoft Dynamics. So I think they got Dynamics CRM now. So your skills will naturally progress into that. I'm not sure. I think Salesforce is Apex or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, coding.
I have a follow up on that. You mentioned briefly their salary. I don't want to get to specifics here, but I know that the audience that we are talking to, they are curious about, okay, how much will I be making in the industry once I'm done with what I'm doing, or if I try to transition from what I'm doing to maybe consulting? What is my potential here? So in general terms, give us an idea, Ted, of a range. Okay, you could, and I know it's hard because there are so many factors that are involved, but give us hope, give us some sort of a range. Okay, you can do this if you just do X, Y, and Z, but then if you really want to go full blown, you can do that. So give us a little bit of a better concrete idea there.
Yeah. So from what I know, when you're starting right now, guys who are starting, they'll start. So I'm in Australia. They will start around the $30 to $50 an hour range as a coder. After a couple of years, so I think anything over 5 years, you're now considered a senior developer, which is what I am. From there, you're now earning, if you go through agencies, you get anywhere from $70 an hour right through to $200 an hour. And then you get billed out at anywhere from $100 to $350 an hour. So if there's a middleman in there, obviously they will take their chunk. If you're able to get the client on your own, obviously you get the lion's share. Does that make sense?
It's awesome. Again, it gives a very, very good idea to whoever is looking for those specifics. Now, each and every profession, and ours is no different, is that there are positive aspects and negative aspects. There are great stories and what I usually call horror stories. I mean, is there anything that's, without, of course, naming names and making things too explicit, are you able to share any interesting story or horror story or something that went wrong with maybe with a client, with a project, and now you know better, and now you know that you should not be doing this, but you should do that? I mean, is there anything that you can share with us?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. I think any developer of a couple of years would know this one: fixed price project. That's your. That's the biggest. That's the biggest one there. So, estimation is one of the hairiest places in software development. What do you think would take you 4 months can end up taking you six up to 16 months. The range is multiple of four in terms of how wrong you can be. So, and that's one of the motivations behind Scrum and Agile development. So you have to price accordingly. So if you're doing custom codes, clients will usually come in with no, give us a budget, give us a fixed price, and they say we want 50,000, we want 100,000, and once you commit to that, Whew, where do I begin?
Okay, so here's the thing: you're talking general terms there. Come on, give me a story. Give me a story. Okay, again, without naming names, but give me a story of, okay, this is what happened, and this is when
Okay,
when the shirt.
my worst one was had this client, and we had agreed on a figure. By the time we start the project, all these skeletons come out of the closet, and the fault is completely on me because I didn't have the fortitude to say, hey, we didn't discuss this. This didn't come up in our agreement. Let me try and think of some examples in there. So it was I know there was an ordering page, so they wanted to order an invoice, and then from there you find out that the price matrix has got so many different criteria. It's not just this product at this price. It's got this dynamic pricing model based on how much they have in stock to where the client is, stuff that didn't come up during the initial discussions and estimation. And I didn't have the fortitude to say, hey, we didn't discuss this. I just said, okay, yes, I'll deliver. Yes, I'll deliver. And obviously I didn't deliver. And mate, I'm lucky I didn't have children then. Otherwise they would have taken my firstborn son, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. That's good. So again, one key takeaway here is that make sure that you know what you're committing to. And
I'll go as far as saying don't give an estimation. You with coding, you just have no idea until you start writing, and neither do they. So I would say to everybody, by all means, stick to Scrum and Agile, those kind of methodologies, where you will price on time spent or points of a feature, and it's, hey, I'll price you for this week, for my week, for whether you do 30 or 60 hours, and you say, let's see what we can get done in the first week in terms of points. So if you look up Scrum and Agile, it all makes sense. And estimate based on that. Don't do fixed price projects. Woo! Yeah, I can feel my hair standing just thinking about it.
Okay, so that's a good takeaway. If someone, Ted, besides the one that you just mentioned, if someone would come to you and say, hey, I'm thinking of pursuing a similar path, what would be one wise advice that you'd give to a person that would want to pursue your career path? What would be one thing?
Well, so it wouldn't be a one size fits all, and what I mean by that is, I think they're those logical people who are very logical but also very introverted, and coding is really perfect for them. They are able to become really really good coders, and they don't really have the business slash people skills. Those guys should absolutely focus on being the best developers they can. So the career path I would recommend for such people, like I say, if you're say in the 20s, early 20s, yep, get your fundamentals right, but get some skills while you're in that, and then find a platform, so that because the platform slash the ecosystem is able to give you a pool of potential clients, and as you create a brand within that ecosystem, because you're so good at what you do, you get 4 or 5 stars on your rate on the consultants board on that ecosystem, and you won't have to go and really sell yourself, because you're probably not really good at selling yourself. You're really good at coding. So that's the career path I would give to somebody like that. Somebody with who wants to play a more full stack game, by full stack, not so much full stack developer, but more as you want to play the business and the coding side. My recommendation there would be go and work in a small firm where you get to dabble in each side, so you can deal with some customers and deal with some customer issues, bug issues, and you also get to deal with developers and prioritizing issues that they get to deal with, and you also get to write a little bit of code. So if you have both that business and coding brain, I would recommend working in a small firm to do that. And then from there, I would recommend you find a niche that you want to specialize in, start your own business in that niche. Ideally, partner up with your ex-employee and tell them, look, I'm going over to start my own, but I'm focusing in on this. Come in with me. You provide the funding. I'll manage it. If you have bigger ones, you just go on your own and find your own funding and do it all yourself.
Good, good. Okay. That's great. I mean, I I would rarely advise anyone to go on their own if they are just fresh starting, right? It's just too much to handle. So you're definitely right there, Teds. Think about this for a second. One resource. Is there one resource that you'd, you know, point people to? Maybe a book, maybe an author, maybe a site, maybe an article, anything that you'd like to point people to, maybe to get a better view of this, career path that you are, or maybe about something else. It doesn't matter. Something that you think it's useful for anybody else out there.
Yeah. Look, no, I don't really have a resource. Things like Pluralsight and the Learn Visual Studio. So they're all there. There's another one from Google as well. You can find those. So I think those are easy. The thing I would say, is the takeaway I want to leave people with is more the perspective. And the perspective is that the future is really around technology, AI, robotics, automation. And if you're a coder, you are already well into that space. Your career is not at risk. Honestly, a lot of other careers are at risk, massive risk. But as a coder, and if you start zeroing down into robotics, AI, automation, you'll be in demand for a very long time. And I would say that's the perspective I'd like to leave people with.
Awesome. Before I let you go, let me just ask you this. What is next for you? I mean, you have your own career there. So what is, if I talk to you again in a year, what's your goal? What are you working towards?
Yeah, so my goal is obviously I've created a product for manufacturing companies. It's a software, naturally a software product, and the outlook for that is to bring in a lot of automation into the manufacturing businesses. But again, it starts with having a good platform on which they are already running their business. So yeah, manufacturing systems, that's me. That's my next phase.
Awesome. Ted, thank you so much for being here. Before I let you go, just want to ask, are you okay to share some sort of a contact information in case anyone wants to reach out, maybe to ask a question, maybe to get clarifications about anything that you have spoken about here? I mean, do you want to leave a contact information?
Yeah, no, not really. No, no, I'm kidding, man. Absolutely. My email is Thaddeus@skybase.com. So that's THADEUS at Skybase, so SKYEBASE.com. And yeah, I'll do my best to reply as soon as I can.
Awesome. The email will be, of course, in the show notes. Again, Thaddeus, thanks so much for being here. We will talk again soon to see where you are in terms of your goals. And again, we'll follow up. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.